just cut the, I should go to the base, where else are you gonna cut it?
What are you
I'm
talking
using
about?
that transportation.
As far as getting to the base?
Yes.
From here?
Yeah,
Okay. You saying that's an issue for you?
yes. And 411, you shoot too.
Yeah. Well, that's why we'll be talking about those. So we'll be having more times. I mean, this is the first set of meetings. I understand they don't work for everyone. So we wanted to have meetings at noon, you know, and some people are gonna say they work at that time because they're the ones that can.
They don't do it right. Come on, I've been here longer than you guys. I've been here with my dad. I came with my wife, 9. I don't know about the meeting. They say go build a big bridge. It never happened. We voted for that. It never may happen.
What, bridge to Camino or?
I don't know where they're going to build.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
They say Camino, sometimes goes where that La Corner, then they change the mind, they go to what's that name?
Stanley?
Stanley, then they change
Smoky Point.
they change to Camino Island.
Yeah, I haven't been a part of those conversations.
And I've been riding the bus. There's no sidewalk on Hiller Road. They said they're gonna build that sidewalk. I almost get hit 4 times.
Yeah. On Heller, you saying?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's
Driver
something.
won't stop where I want to stop because I have to get off, cross another sidewalk. They won't stop.
Yeah, they're supposed to.
No,
At the crosswalk you're talking about?
where the crosswalk is, I can walk through there. Because most of the time I almost get hit.
Hey, Jill.
How are you?
Oh, really good.
Oh, good.
That's
Okay,
something we would
so
have
we
to have
should
more
change the
information
forward.
on.
That's what been bring up so many times. They could put a sidewalk there, never happened.
This
How
happened
many years?
today.
20 years already
Well,
left?
fine.
It's not out of
You should have been there.
Yeah,
You
this
would
is-
have had more fun.
That's
I mean,
fine.
but I
Well,
definitely
I'm
would
not gonna-
like to
Yeah,
know
that's
about
what
those
it was.
type of issues.
I was hanging out with
Outside.
my buddy Dale.
Nothing
Oh,
happened.
We
that's
were
great.
photographing and.
It's,
you know,
There's nothing happened.
We rarely, if ever,
We
do
can
this
relay
right
that
away.
message
Yeah, that's
to the
great.
city of Oak Harbor
Thanks.
for you.
I just wanted to show you.
There's
Yeah,
no
that's great.
petition sign, nothing.
Depends on where it's
That's
at.
very
It
dangerous.
might be in county.
That's very dangerous because some drive like this, some drive like this, some when they hit my back.
Where's the, where on Heller?
people have in
We're
front of
gonna
It's
go over
one
that
top.
together so we get responses.
Yeah, you know,
That corner right there.
it just, it's
Heller and what?
Swan Town.
Swantown. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
That corner is very dangerous there.
Mhm. Yeah. So I take it you're going to the other side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the driver is has a beard or it's had both, and you always drive with number 1 bus. Sometimes you drive to 12 and say, hey, can you stop here? No. We go to where the bus sign says, where the bus sign. And he always get mad at me. I don't like that.
You want him to stop at the corner.
Yes,
Yeah, that's kind of dangerous right there also. 'Cause there's
no, he has to, before the, there's the 3 fire hydrant, the second fire hydrant was the driveway, now close the driver can pull over.
Yeah, that's something we would probably need to get together and talk about a little bit more in detail.
Nothing happened, I've been talking so many years,
Yeah.
never happened.
Give us a break. We haven't been here for all those discussions, so that's the first time I'm hearing about it.
Oh,
I do know the area. I'm not sure. I mean, some of it would be on the city. I'm not sure. I mean, that's just a discussion.
Oh,
we
they tell me
have to
it's
have.
the country or city. I went to city, I went to country, same thing, nothing happened.
Better, you can see it.
All right, so it's right at 5 o'clock, and we'll go ahead and get started. I'm gonna start off with a few introductions. So I'm Shawn Harris, I'm the operations manager, and I have some staff here with me. along with one of our superstars, one of our drivers. We got Dana here, we got Nick Pinch, Operations Supervisor, and Meg Heppner, she's the Executive Assistant, and Robyn Goldring, she's our Administration Manager. And we have special guest here, Jill Johnson, we appreciate you showing up, Island County Commissioner and Board Member for Island Transit. Okay, so just wanted to lay out some ground rules here. So we're here tonight, we want to get your input on fares, charging fares for the 411. So after we've kind of talked about that a little bit, then if there's time and there's some other issues that we need to address, we'll see what we can do about that. But tonight it's really important for us to get your information, to get your thoughts on that, so we can relay that information back to the board. That's what our mission is, and so that's kind of what we're here tonight to do. We've put some information out on the table here. Make sure you sign in if you have some questions that we can't answer right at this moment. If they're numbers or something, we're gonna have to go back and get that information for you. We can email it to you. So if you've signed in, we can do that. We've also put out some comment cards. We have some e-alerts. So if you're interested in getting information and you have an email address for the 411 and what we decide moving forward, you can fill out one of those cards and we will send you an e-alert. They'll just come once as we make decisions moving forward. You'll just all of a sudden get an e-alert saying, this is what's going on with the 411. So I'm assuming most of you are here about the 411, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the only route we're talking about today as far as charging. We have a meeting tomorrow in Camino. We have some other issues that we were going to talk about, so I want to make sure that everyone's here for the 411. Okay. What else do we have here? So we've set community meetings and we've set them based on schedule. It's hard for us because we're trying to set schedules based on everybody's got to be able to be there. And then we know that doesn't work for everyone. I've heard that already. We've had times in the AM or at noon, and people that work say that doesn't work for them. We set later meetings so people can make it, but then that doesn't work for people that are catching the bus because the bus stops running. So we can't, we'll have as many meetings as we can. With that being said, if you know someone that's not able to get here, go to our website, which on the bottom of your survey, it's there. We have these surveys for anybody that you know that didn't make the meeting. Please have them go to the website, fill those out. With the click of the button, we get that information and it registers that information. So the board's going to see how many surveys were turned in. It'll measure every question and how important those questions are to our community. So if you know someone, make sure they go to the website. They'll be able to contact us from there. You can also contact us at, Island Transit, info@islandtransit.org. And so if you had a question for a board member, you could send it there, and then we would make sure that they would get those individual questions or just any information in general. Where are you guys at? Where are you at? Where are you at? And then we can kind of keep you updated that way as well. Okay? Any questions so far?
Got a big one here. What's your timeline on charging a fare? Kind of where you're at and where you're going. I kind of think some people in this room are like me, wondering what's your schedule look like.
Okay, so let's do this first. I promise I will get to that question, but let's go ahead and go through the survey first, because it's important for us to get those back. Take us about 5 or 10 minutes to go through that. Meg will read off the questions, just in case anyone has a question about one of those questions on the survey.
So, number one is what's your zip code? And that's pretty expensive. Do you commute between Island and Skagit counties? Did you have a question about the why?
Nick and I
and Shawn are the ones that created this, along with some other folks at the office. So we'd be interested to know if this question is not clear as well, because if you're reading it and going, I have no idea what you're really asking here, please let me know, okay? So question 2, do you commute between Island and Skagit counties? 3, where do you board this route? No, go ahead, sorry, I'm not looking.
Okay, commute, what does that word mean? Is it once in a while I commute to the hospital in Skagit County? Or is commute every day I go to school or work over there? What is the definition of commute here?
Just in general, do you travel? Do you use?
Ever, once a month, go to the
That's
hospital
exactly
over
right.
there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay,
Question
thank you.
10 gives you the option to say less than once a week, or, and then it's different if some people are going, to school or like Monday through Friday, that'd be maybe 5 days.
Yeah, another question, why $2? Why would that be so much? $2, isn't it a bit much for?
So we'll answer that question as well. Let's go ahead and go through the survey, then we'll open it up for general conversation about the fares, and then that's where all those questions will come in at. We'll do our best to answer all of those. It's a good answer for that one, by the way, I'll save it.
So 3, where do you board this route toward your destination? 4, where do you board this route on your return trip? 5, do you transfer to a different bus route at March's Point? Yes or no? And if yes, what agency? Because there are several that go through that parking ride. And what route number? 6, what direction do you travel towards your destination? Towards March's Point or towards Woodby? And what time do you typically board the route? 7 is just the flip of that. What direction do you travel on your return trip? And what time do you typically board the route? 8, what's your final destination? 9, what's the primary purpose of your travel? So in that case too, there is an other, and you can fill in, leisure, you're just going to the mall maybe, or you have something real specific that you're doing Monday through Friday. 10, during a typical week, how many days do you ride this route? Less than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 11, would you be willing to pay $2 to travel one way between Woodby and March's Point parking ride? Yes? No? If no, how much are you willing to pay? And 12, if you are unwilling to pay a fare, how will you commute in the future? Drive your own car, wouldn't go, carpool, or other? And then there is a area for comments, thoughts, input, and online there is this area as well. And we try to keep it to one page, and hopefully it's clear. If you have questions, like I said, please ask.
Question 5.
Yes.
What agency is not an issue at March Point? It might be coming off Camino.
Well, just in case somebody's coming from Skagit County to Island County.
Okay,
So
but
maybe they clarify if they're transferring to Island Transit or Skagit.
well, it says, do you transfer to a different bus route at March's Point? So that would indicate that you're going off the island. Scat is the only one that services that. Now, if you're over on Camino, then you're dealing with community transit and maybe others if you're going to Heppner.
Okay.
So that really doesn't apply in this instance.
Okay, good point. Good point. And that's why we're doing this. I want to make sure we get all the surveys back. I won't collect them just yet because there's a place on the bottom. If during this conversation you have other things you want to jot down before you turn them in, then go right ahead and do that.
And the surveys are all on our website, so we encourage you to tell your fellow passengers to visit our website so that they also can take the survey.
Okay, so had a couple of questions. We're going to open up for like a general discussion. The easier question right now, you asked why $2.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people put their heads together and we kind of looked at what is Skagit Transit and what is Whatcom doing.
Skagit, the riding in Skagit, $1. $1, any bus, you're right.
Out of county,
Yeah.
out of county.
Yeah.
It's more to go to Bellingham.
It's $2 on the Tri-County connector, I will tell you that, and we've
Not
confirmed
$2,
that.
but the disabled got discount.
Mhm.
Disabled got discount or senior discount.
Okay.
Senior discount.
Okay, jotting those notes down. So again, you know, with this, it's $2 as far as traveling. I appreciate you bringing that up for us because that is one of the considerations, you know, how will this look? Will there be, you know, senior discounts or ADA discounts, or will there be student discounts? I mean, those are the bulk of the people that are using that route. We have a year window, so in trying to implement this, those are some of the considerations that the board is going to.
I noticed a lot of people going to college in Mount Vernon.
Mhm,
Students ride that bus too.
mhm.
They see the oldest person like me,
Yeah.
handicapped. I ride that bus
Mhm.
every week.
I got charged both ways, you know, $2 going to Marsh Part and then, oh,
That's a great question as well. I mean, and so here's where we're at on this. You know, we've thrown around a lot of different options, you know, just in-house, and that's why we're having those, you know, what's gonna work best for you. I think I know, maybe I know the answer to that, but, you know, when we first originally talked about it, it was $2 to Skagit, and then you would have to pay to go on to Skagit to go points further. I do know there's discussion between us and Skagit about a transfer. So I can't commit for Skagit to say that, yes, they are gonna honor transfers. We're optimistic about it, but I can't sit here and say, yes, Skagit's gonna do that as we work through this process.
I heard about the Skagit dispatcher. They said, all covered, they find each other. Who's gonna pay? And I didn't ask that question. I'm asking a question. Why do you guys find each other for, used to be go right straight to Mumford bus station. They cut it out.
Right.
Then they just say they're gonna charge for riding. Then it says $1.
I forgot I carried that with me.
Then I heard that Okawa's gonna charge money. Nothing happened.
So your option, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that $1, you think we should pay $1 and then,
No, I didn't say $1. The guys who were fighting each other, I leave it alone. I didn't ask that question. I didn't ask you a question. I'm asking you why you guys cannot go straight to Mount Vernon, drop us down instead of waiting for 3.5 hours for another bus to come, and then we have to go back again 3.5 hours.
oh, I
That's the
see what you're
problem
saying.
right
How
there.
come we only go to March's Point?
Yeah, that's the problem right there.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're doing what we're able to do at this point as far as financially. And again, that's gonna be a decision, that's certainly a question I can relay, but that's gonna be a decision of our board and what's going to make sense for the agency, as well as the passenger, but, you know, all the time, we gotta be able to.
As for me, I said, as for me, I have to wait. I have to get a bus, wait an hour and a half or 3 hours, another bus come. Then going back again, I have to wait for 411 to come to pick us up. It's 3.5 hours. I spend all day, every week. I spend all day there.
Yeah. You know, definitely, you know, not the ideal situation when you have a gap in the middle of the day. I'm assuming that's when you're talking about waiting.
Yes.
That gap, yeah. You know, we'd love to be able to run all day long, to be honest with you, but we can't do that. Not at this time. I would hope that, you know, if we can make this work something out with SCAT, that's gonna look better to the state, and that's going to enable us to possibly do more. But I think we gotta work through these issues first. I understand it's frustrating.
I cut you off. Another problem, I heard so many rumors. If we pay $1, $2, you got to go get the tax. You're gonna cut your allowance for cover. What's gonna happen that? I heard that again.
So,
I don't understand the question.
yeah, if you could repeat that again?
So he's
I think
afraid,
he's talking about the sales tax,
he's afraid that
Oh,
our
the
sales
sales
tax
tax.
would be cut.
or 9/10 of 1%.
1%, I don't know how much percent, they will cut it, because if they charge, I will cover fee, that's what I understand. That's why I question you. If you pay the $2, what happened to those fee, tax fee?
Okay.
The allowance you got I think every month, every quarter, get money from the federal, they're gonna cut it off. Part of it.
Okay, so that's a rumor I hadn't heard, Jill.
I do heard, I
I
keep
know,
talking.
the board hasn't had any discussions about changing the sales tax rate. I mean, the sales tax that's charged pays for in-county transportation, which at this stage is free. And what we're talking about is charging for out-of-county transportation. And the citizens of Skagit County aren't paying for you to have a free bus ride in Skagit County. And so I understand what you're saying, that it's frustrating to not go directly from the island to Mount Vernon. But our sales tax doesn't pay for us to have service outside of our county. And so what we're trying to do is find a way to supplement that. But there hasn't been talks about reducing the amount of sales tax collected. And there's even been discussion about, well, what about the people who are on the 411 who don't leave the county, to ensure that we're not charging people a rate to have in-county transportation, if that's one of our goals, is to not do that right now.
But the people in Ocala voted for that transportation.
They're still getting that, and they're
They
still
voted
getting,
for that transportation.
I totally hear what you're saying. They're still getting that transportation, and they're still getting that transportation without a fare right now. The conversation is about the out-of-county connection route. So people who want to travel outside of our county, the costs of doing that travel aren't paid for by anybody right now, other than the state of Washington is giving us some money, but it's not covered with the sales tax. The sales tax covers the in-county transportation.
And so what I would say on that, to add on, one of the things we talked about is just a proposal for fares. If we did charge, if that was something we decided to do as a community, you wouldn't pay at Harbor Station on the 411. We would travel to March's Point, and at March's Point, when you exit the bus, that's where you would pay. We haven't worked out the details if there's going to be a transfer or what that looks like at this time, but anybody coming back also would pay when they got on at March's Point. So the rest of the people getting on in the county, it's not going to affect that North End service.
Question
Mhm.
regarding that. Okay, so you get to the bridge.
Mhm.
We have people that get off at Harold's Market. We have people that get off at Sharp's Corner.
So they would pay.
So they would pay
Right.
as they got off there, not
Yeah.
just March.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah,
clarifying.
it's a good question, because that will happen too, Shrimp Shack, all those places.
Yeah.
That's outside of our county. So once you cross the bridge, we have only a few designated stops that are safe to stop on that highway, and if someone got off there, that's where they would have to pay. I don't know if that helps clarify, that portion of it. Yes, ma'am.
I'm looking at this with a kind of philosophically and economically. I'm kind of new to Social Security, but I understand that we did not get a cost of living increase the last year or something. Is that right?
Yes.
Everybody know? And so when we have services, cost of services go up, even if it's a little, the cost of food is also going up a lot. And gasoline right now, we're okay, but maybe in a year, it might hit a hot streak again. And even, like, I live at Cambay, and the pop machine outside Cambay went from 75 cents to get a can of pop to $1. That's a 25% increase. And you just don't notice all these increases until you try to square at the end of the month, and you run out of money on like the 17th of the month, if you're lucky, And So what may seem like just a little bit is a lot. And even if it's only a penny, if you don't have a penny, you get stressed out because you don't have that money.
One thing that I'm gonna mention
I
about,
agree with you.
I'm gonna mention about the certificate.
Hang on one second, sir. I want to make sure, Joe had a question back there.
I have a brief statement and then a question, and my brief statement is I'm on a Citizens Advisory Group with Skagit Transit. I asked a question of our CEO and of our staff last December and January about fares, noticing you guys were doing a fare study, and we get in more money from fares than it costs us to collect it. And that's why I support you charging a fare. Plus, with all due respect, you are, from today, 500 days until your state grant runs out, and I am frankly white knuckle nervous as we go into the last 500 days. And without charging a fare, I don't think the state legislature is going to give us a grant to have that would be the Skagit link. And my understanding is Skagit Transit cannot financially provide that link at this time. So it's really, I mean, I hear what this lady is saying. I'm on Social Security disability, and I feel those increases too. But I don't see any good options on this one. And I'm sorry, I really am. I just don't. So it brings me to my question, which is what's your timeline for charging fares, and how soon can you do it to satisfy your state grant requirements so we can get another grant and have at least some bus services here?
Okay, that's a great question. I think we've kind of talked about in the board meetings, we've kind of set a date that we could model something, and that's with everyone's input. We would shoot for something like June 1st.
Good.
Yeah, well, that's good, it's tight, because a lot of things have to happen. But that is the date that we've talked about.
Also, finally, I want to advise very gently to all Island Transit staff that our Skagit Transit planner is leaving her position due to some family issues. It's 100% her family, and I'd like to leave it at that because this is a public forum. But, you know, it may be a while before we get a new planner, so I don't know what to tell you. I'm at the bottom of a totem pole, so I can't say anything more.
Yeah, we're aware of that. I talked to the director a couple of weeks ago, so we are aware of that. And we don't have our planner as well. So we're just, at the time, we're just not able to fill that position. Yes, sir.
I talked to Phil, I filled that form. He says, they're giving out the Social Security, I think yellow, red or green card for the boss, just swipe it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no charge for the customer, it goes to Social Security. Why you can't guys do that?
Well, I think they're mulling that, they're thinking about all this. That's why we're talking.
I'm asking why you can't do that before you talk about charging the fee.
So some of those systems that you're talking about are really expensive startup costs. And so one of the, I mean, even with charging in-county fares, the counties that charge fares also have the sales tax. So they're taking the sales tax and the fares to run their system.
I don't believe that.
Well, you can call me a liar, but I actually
I
know
didn't say liars, I don't believe it.
Okay, well-
Because they've been saying that how many years? How many years you been saying that?
I appreciate that you may not share my point of view, but it's actually pretty well factually researched. So part of what we know is that maybe if we charge fares on the whole system, we might break even or make a little money. But the startup costs of putting in that system are expensive, and we wouldn't make that money back right now, and the organization isn't in a financial position to do that. Even with the system that you're talking about where you swipe a card, which I think would be ideal, and be able to give people student cards or senior cards, or the startup cost for that system is above and beyond what we're able to do. It won't pay itself back fast enough, and we aren't in a financial position to do that cash outlay right now.
I understand that.
So it's a really rudimentary system that we're talking about. You have money, we take it. I mean, it's that simple of a system in order to make it work, because we can't absorb those initial startup costs. And we wanna see how it works, right? We don't wanna make a huge outlay in a system to collect fares and find out that it's just not working at all.
There's standards of another state, other, in Washington State, they have that card to start that,
Right,
it works.
so we thought about,
Even Scott, it works. But no cover, doesn't work. I don't believe that.
I think the system works. I think it's a system we'd wanna go to, but it costs a lot of money in the initial stage to put that system in to pay for itself. And what you have to remember is that Island Transit is in a fiscal building time period where we wanna make sure we have 3 months of reserves in the bank, right? We wanna make sure that the organization can withstand ebbs and flows of sales tax, so we don't have to cut service, and we can be more predictable and stable for the employees and for the riders. So that's one of our primary goals is stabilization. So in order to do that, we need to not make additional capital investments that may or may not be long-standing investments for the organization. So what we know is that the state legislator has asked us to charge a fare on one of the routes, not this route, another route. We are required to have a fare collection in order to get a grant. And that grant also is tied into Skagit's ability to get a grant. So if we don't charge a fare, Skagit doesn't get their money either. So we know we're in this situation and having a conversation about fares. So we brought in groups of people from around the state and asked them, do you think we can charge a fare and what would that look like? And the feedback we got primarily was, it can be profitable and be beneficial on your out-of-county connector routes. It'll be tight, break even or not, on your in-county routes, and you're gonna have all those startup costs. So the board had some of those conversations based on that feedback, and the recommendation from the board was in-county transportation, we can't afford to put in the infrastructure to support that. It doesn't look like it's gonna pay itself back in a timely fashion. Culturally, we'd like to try it on some other routes before we went countywide anyway, because it's a really big shift for our population of bus users. And so we'll look at these connector routes where all the other counties are saying that's where you'll be profitable, that's the appropriate place to do it. And then Skagit County gave us some fare collection boxes for free, thus reducing our capital cost, and but it's a cash-based system. So I hear what you're saying. We'll have some conversations about what would a discount card look like for seniors or for students, or, I mean, we're gonna need to flesh out some of these details if we go in this direction. But that swipe card, it works. It just costs a lot of money to put it in, and that's money we don't have right now.
Well, the news was says, in October, somebody took the money out of the budget. That's why I read the news. I didn't question the mayor or the governor why that money disappeared. No, that's my reason why the money was short.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's another meeting.
No, not meeting, I'm telling you about this budget was short because somebody took the budget out.
So some of what happened is that they built a brand new building, right? This is just my understanding of what happened because I got on the board afterwards. But they built a new building, and all the capital money that they needed to build the building and the operating money that they needed to run the organization, they were all in the same budget. And the board was expending money that they thought was the match for the capital side. But it really was operation money that they were spending, but it was very difficult to see. So
Let me cut you again because I used to live next to mayor. The street is always resurfaced, fixed. The person living around there, he had potholes, so many potholes. I don't believe that.
Okay.
I'm bringing out that question.
So all I would say is
I'm
that
bringing out that question.
it wasn't a misappropriation as much as it was I don't think anybody took the money. What happened was that there was a lot of money.
It was in the newspaper.
I know.
It was in the newspaper.
I hear you.
It got spent for something that it wasn't supposed to be spent for.
That's right, because the accounting looked different and they didn't have it, it wasn't disciplined enough to say, hey, wait a second, we're spending capital money on operating. And so now the finances have been designed differently so you can see capital expenditures from operating expenditures. But I don't want you to think that someone took the money. That's not
I
what.
didn't say took it.
Okay.
I read the newspaper.
Okay, so I just wanna make sure that part of what we're trying to do is stabilize an organization and move it forward in a positive way. And that some of what happened in the past is that's just over, and we just have to keep moving forward. But we wanna learn from those mistakes and not get ourselves in the same situation. And some of what we learned was it's important to be consistent, it's important to be predictable, it's important to have security, it's important for riders to have consistent routes that they can count on. And so it's better for us as an organization to grow slowly and take incremental steps than it is to do big broad things that could put the whole organization on its tail again.
And you're building up reserves.
And we have a goal of 3 months operating cash in reserve, so
And
that
that's being built up right now.
slowly but surely, we're on the track.
Okay. Other comments?
I'll chime in on this one, Shawn. When it comes to the 411 is why I'm here. That's why I went to my first meeting and why I'm still hanging around, because we haven't got it right yet. The reason why I got involved was because as per the grant language for the 411, we were to go, I believe it was 13 round trips between Oak Harbor and Mount Vernon. And all of a sudden the service got cut. Instead of going from Oak Harbor to Mount Vernon, we went Oak Harbor to Marches Point. A year prior to the grant money running out. And I'm wondering, still waiting on an answer back and some clarification on what are we reporting? Because I believe this grant agreement also, the language says, we should be going to Mount Vernon, but we are cutting service and cutting money on a system and a route that shouldn't be cut. That's one issue. At the last meeting, we also talked about, because we cannot afford the route match for the 412, which would be getting the fare system in place, that I don't remember if it was Paul or the board, somebody mentioned the fact that they want to use 411 funds as for startup of the startup cost of fare collection. Therefore, we're going to cut 411 service even more if you're going to use some of that money for the fare collection system. And you talked about, and Joel talked about, you can't afford the huge outlay that there is. Skagit donated boxes. Skagit also volunteered their services for free as cash counters, instead of Island Transit having to go through all of that cost as well. We talked about it, the huge outlay for that, going for the fare and the sales collection. Yet at the last meeting, we talked about how many tens of thousands of dollars for a fiber optics system, a security system. Because that's what the state auditors were looking for. As soon as I got home after that meeting, I called the state auditors. He said, you know what, Gail? You know we don't make recommendations like that. I said, I know. I'm just verifying. So there's some.
So Gail, I think a lot of that meeting is people trying to put their heads together to figure out how to make it work. Since then, and we meet weekly on this, and we're at a point where we're getting input now. Some of the stuff at first we thought was going to happen. We thought we could meet Skagit at a certain point and they're coming by there anyway and that would work out perfect. Well, it just so happens that that's not going to work out. Same thing with the cash county. We thought in the beginning that that was an option. I don't even know where that came from. I heard it as well. But we did talk with them, and the more I'm listening, it doesn't sound like that's even going to be an option for us. We have 2 different facilities, and that's not going to be one of our options. So I think people are throwing things out there. We will look into, again, I know you've asked about how they were able to make the cut. That was the old director, and the folks at the state know where that route goes. So I'm not sure how they were able to do that. We're operations. We're instructed to do whatever we need to do, and so that's what we had. We had to make that happen, or we were going to lose the route completely. That was just the bottom line. I hope that answers some of your questions. But again, I think we're kind of putting our heads together, and you're right on a few of those facts, but I think trying to come up with ways to make it work, it's incredibly expensive. I'm saying this, I was waiting for the question, what do you think about fairs? And I would just say, you know what, this isn't even about what I think. I'm not even gonna answer the question, because we're here to get input from the community. I am a citizen as well. I have my own thoughts. It's incredibly expensive. I mean, the time frame, it's tight. I mean, for us to put something together that we've never had, I mean, it's tight. So I'm open for, whatever ideas that you have, and we'll mull those around. A couple of them may get thrown out at board meetings, and they'll kind of, chew on that for a minute, and some of it just kind of, goes by the wayside as we keep working through it. So I don't think I know we're not at a place where there's any commitments at this point. Yes, ma'am.
Have you gone to the Senior Services of Island County and their board and asked them to weigh in?
We haven't met with them in about a year, but for a while there, they were coming over and meeting with us at Island Transit, and they were trying to think of, at the time when we were cutting service, they were trying to come up with ways that they could possibly shuttle, but they just didn't have a consistent way, because they use volunteers, and they just didn't have a consistent way that they could do that. But we haven't talked to them about these, out-of-county routes. I do know from being down on the south end that there are veterans that travel on the 411 also, so that may be something else we'll do before, they make their final decision. That's a great idea.
I think a lot of seniors, like in Coopville and South, the hospital just refers them to Skagit Valley General. And so you have medically fragile people that are trying to get from Coopville or Oak Harbor to Skagit Valley General Hospital and back, and that's a vulnerable population.
I agree with you. I know we do have a board member as well that's, very aware of that, and that'll be a big weight for them when they're, weighing out all of these options. It's very close to their heart. Yes, sir.
Which brings up two questions I have, and I don't mean to put my friend Jill on the spot, but I gotta ask him with 500 days to go. Question, and this is mainly at a board level, not operations,
Okay.
but number one, could the board consider passing a resolution asking Skagit Transit to take over these routes, have them charge the fare and collect the money and run the grant? And I think if you passed a resolution asking for that, you would force a public debate and kind of put everybody on my side of the section pass in this, where we had to show our true colors. The second question is the God forbid Carolyn's clock has hit 0 and we're out of days and we're out of a grant. Do you guys have a plan if that happens? And we have medically vulnerable people trying to get to Skagit. We have an OLF or OLF Coopville supporter trying to get back here to defend part of your economy and our national security. That would be me. I just pray to God there's a backup plan sitting around somewhere.
So just the last part of that, from an operational standpoint, Carolyn is a great planner, but I know Skagit's team, I know their operations manager, their supervisor, they have a supervisor. It's been there for a long time. They do just fine with their planning, so that's not gonna be an issue for us. We'll get together, put our heads together and figure something out. The other part Jill would have to answer as far as if we've asked SCAT to run those services. I don't know, that would be from a board level.
Well, your problem is now Carolyn's leaving.
That doesn't affect us, to answer your question.
Okay, I just want you guys starting to think of backup plans, Plan B, Plan C, and Plan D for people.
Yeah.
I mean, we think of backup plans. We're working on Plan A still. Part of that is to demonstrate to the state that we're doing all we can to have self-sufficient routes. It's important, though, to say that regardless of the fare amount, whether it's 0, 50 cents, $1 or $2, it's not enough to cover the cost of the route. And so the grant portion of the county connectors, who pays for that cost between counties? That really for us has rested with the state. And so the plan still is to lobby the state until we can get a longer funding strategy with them. It would be nice if it wasn't every 2 years. And I think that might be something that we would ask for. The last time that there was talks about cuts, and there were proposals made to have fewer routes. And you know, that's always an option, but the cuts were so extreme in order to be affordable that it was like having no routes at all. And so I think for us to get to Plan B, we need to really fully explore Plan A.
Yeah.
And we know that they're not gonna there's nothing we can do until the legislative cycle starts up again in 2017. And so, you know, we can talk to our legislators, which we do, but it's a 2017 funding cycle item for us. And so really, it's hard to get a plan beyond that because they're not even willing to talk about that yet. They're still dealing with 2016 budget. So
Yeah.
we're at the pleasure of the legislature right now.
Which I contact Senator Bailey constantly. I keep her updated on all this stuff.